We're going to dive right in and create some cool pieces today. I love playing with alcohol inks, and one of the things to kind of differentiate, from all the other projects that are out there is to kind of do this fun kind of abstract look. And I've been playing around now for a while with this look. I'm going to start off with some 5x7 Yupo paper. I hope everybody's doing well today. If you are watching, I'd love for you to pop into the chat and say hi as I begin to create here. I would love to know if you have alcohol inks and whether or not you get them out frequently. There's so many different cool looks that you can do. This is a piece by an alcohol ink artist that I absolutely love, Jessica Kirkman, and you can follow her on Instagram or TikTok. She goes by Manifest Jess. And morning, Barbara. Nice to see you. And I love the brushwork. I've taken several classes by her, and that's kind of what I'm going to do is kind of work with that technique today. So a little bit more abstract so you get a real artistic background, which can work beautiful in projects, whether you're framing them just like this or putting them like on a card. Like here's one that I framed that I absolutely love. Morning, Stacy, Tina, Christine, everybody who's joining in. So nice to see you today. You can see you can really get some very cool looks, but part of this look is actually picking the right paper as well. And so that's a little something that I want to talk about. So we're just going to kind of have a little bit of fun today. And the thing that's cool about alcohol inks is you never 100% know what you're going to get, right? It is a true artistic process. It's like monoprinting. You're never going to be able to replicate it 100% each time. Morning, Chrissy. So to get started, I need to have some isopropyl alcohol. You're going to want something that's at least 91% or higher. And so I'm just going to add a little. I have this little glass. This is actually a mustard glass, believe it or not. There's some really cool, I've seen some cool glasses by a French yogurt company also that would make a great one. I'm not a big yogurt person, but I'm buying them and like having a few from time to time just so I can collect the glasses. Is that sad? I think that's very sad. I love them. They're so cute and perfect for storing supplies. Hi, Donna. Nice to see you today. So I'm just going to put a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in here. I have a couple quick tools that I want to just run over. A pipette, which I bought in bulk, a big, huge package that I'll never go through in my lifetime. So if you have a friend that loves doing this, split it with a friend. I have some inexpensive little brushes. I keep all my alcohol ink supplies off, kind of like off to the side by themselves. I have a little spray bottle that's filled with isopropyl alcohol, and you can see it doesn't have a whole lot because at first we need to create a complete wash. I also have some dotting tools that I plan on using in addition to the brush, as well as a straw and this. I'm not 100% certain if I'm going to use this. This is the Ranger air blower. I also have my kind of like Conair or Revlon also has one here that you can use, gun that I would use on a low setting if I do use it. It doesn't blow out super crazy hot air, which is good. So those are kind of like the things that I have at the ready. And then the number one thing that you're going to want to do, and I'll pull my glass mat a little down so you can see, is I have my alcohol inks open. You want those open because it takes time to undo the lids. And if you have everything that's drying here, like your ISO drying and your abstract background kind of working against you, you don't want to waste time by opening these. And the only reason I know this is because I've made this mistake. Welcome, Chrissy and Kelly. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the demos and everything. Now I have more colors out that I'm going to use. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do, but I want to just kind of have some colors that kind of go with each other. So I have like some browns and some neutrals. I have a couple T-Rex inks that are like kind of like you guys know me. I like to have masculine colors, so subtle colors like driftwood and sea glass and lemongrass. And I love these colors. They're kind of not quite green, not quite blue, because I have some beautiful blues over here by Ranger. I love Ranger alcohol inks. They are hands down my favorite out of all the different ones that I have tried so far. I have a couple pinatas as well, not open today. And then I have one purple eggplant just for a little something different. Not sure if we're going to use it. I also have teakwood off to the side. I should probably open that just in case. And my favorite yellow, Dijon. I'm not really a big bright yellow person, so the Dijon can offer some very interesting contrast if you need that. So we're going to start off by saturating our Yupo paper. Now I've tried the craft sticks paper, and I'm just using a spritzer here, and my spritzer's almost out. I think I just emptied it because I just wanted to get a real nice layer. And I'm going to add a lot of isopropyl alcohol here. Just kind of get this down because I need the wet surface. Now it's not really humid today, but depending on where you live, you're going to have to kind of find that balance for how much to use. And the only way you're going to find that out is just by experimenting. And I would experiment different times of the years so that you can kind of get a feel for that. I've got some sort of little tiny piece of like embossing powder from when we made the canvas the other day, believe it or not. Let's see if I can't get that off. Okay. And I'll just use, I'm not sure if this is 100% clean. It is. Okay. Just kind of want to get this because I can see some spots that are starting to dry. So I'm just going to add just a little tiny bit more. The one mistake that I made when I first started doing alcohol inks was I wasn't adding enough isopropyl alcohol. So we're going to get going here, and don't fall too much in love with everything that we're doing because, oh, that was a little too much of the dark. Come on, Ingrid, get with it. Talking and doing these things at the same time. And I'm just going to add a couple different colors down, and we're going to kind of blend a little bit together, and kind of based off what I'm seeing is what I'm reaching for. So what I really should do is kind of put the ones that I've reached for a little further in here just so I can see them. And I can see that we've got some darker things going on. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. I wasn't 100% certain I was going to add that. And the one color that I really want to add is mushroom here. So now that I love mushroom. It's probably one of my favorite colors. So I have this kind of going on. I'm going to bring my straw in, and I'm going to start to blow a little bit. And I'm going to bring these together and just kind of see what happens. I may blow some off the edges if I feel there's a little too much of one color. And you can see that it's starting to stain the Yupo, and that's going to really play to our advantage down the line. The key to straw work is to make sure that you're not inhaling and you're only exhaling. Oops. Okay, let me just put that around there. And you can see that with some colors, you get some beautiful variation. And I'm really loving what's going on there. This has a little too much depth, too much darkness for me. And we'll end up lightening that up. Okay, so you can see this is starting to dry, so I'm getting some cool variation here. I want to actually get a little bit more. I like to use lots of different lids because it gives me an opportunity to clean my brushes as I go and have some clean ISO as well. Okay, so I'm just going to start to kind of play a little bit here. Let's see what's going on. Where do I want this? Let's do it in here. And I'm just going to use my brush to kind of get some cool marks. And every time I'm adding isopropyl alcohol, it kind of blends with what's going on. So you could do that in different ways. You can do it in a dot form to just introduce that, and it's going to wick that away. But I would play to your advantage here. Now, when you have a drier area, this is an opportunity for you to kind of get some little funky marks and stuff going on here. Because when it's really wet, it's all just going to kind of come together, but that creates some interesting look. I'm liking the lightness here. I'm wanting to introduce a little bit of more lightness in other areas. So my brush is a little dirty in here, so I need a third one. Let's grab a little more ISO. Kind of like, watercolor, you have like a dirty one and then one that's somewhat clean before going into the clean. Ooh, I'm really loving how this kind of blended together. So let's create a little bit more of a whiter spot here, and this part's drying over here. Just kind of playing around, and this is very organic at this point. And then we're going to probably end up doing a little bit of a wash, so don't fall too much in love. It's not uncommon for me to wipe the whole slate and build from there. And that's kind of part of the beauty of the abstracts to me. I have been wanting to do a couple alcohol ink videos for a while now, and I wasn't 100% certain you all wanted it, but I have just fallen in love with alcohol inks. I really love how this is blending together, and so I'm not really wanting to disturb it, but I'm wanting to move a couple different areas around here. Ooh, this is actually really pretty. Let me see if I can't zoom this in for you so that you can get a better feel for what it's looking like here. Okay. How's that looking for you? Is that good? Can y'all you'll have to let me know in the chat or in the replay too, how the stream is working. If it's kind of sharp, if it's not too sharp, might need to zoom out just a little tiny bit there. Okay. Pull some clean, and I can kind of see that as this is drying, this is starting to kind of separate with the colors, and that is just, I love it when it does that. It's just got some really fun little cool looks, and you can see all our little dots kind of went away because we had really wet areas. So I'm going to actually bring in the dotting tool because this is really, really fine, and I just want to kind of see if I can get in here, maybe into a drier area. Might be too small. All right, let's just use our brush here. You can see how, depending on how long you leave your brush. Now, if you just barely touch it, you'll get probably a smaller dot as you go, and as you start to have less alcohol ink on your actual brush. Now I'm kind of coming back in on this trail that I had earlier because I really, really love that. These are starting to come together. So I'm just going to move this around now as it's starting to dry a little. And it always creates something interesting and really magical. So I am kind of not 100% liking this area right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to introduce some really, really light spritz. I have almost none left in my little thing here. So let me just fill that back up. And I find that when I work with alcohol inks, picture is out of focus. Okay. Let's see here. Is that a little bit better? Let's see if I can get it to focus here for you. Is that a little better? All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very, very lightly spritz, and I'm aiming like right here. So I'm not even really aiming at my project too much because I just want a light little bit because I don't want to get the whole project. I just want this corner. So I'm even going to kind of do that. And you can see that that really fine mist does something so cool right there. I don't have autofocus on. Autofocus isn't on, so I don't usually have it on. Let's see if you can't see that. It's testing out this white background. Let me shift it to the black and see if that actually helps. Oops. Let's see if that helps. I have actually all right. Hey, Tiffany. Nice to see you. Okay. Turn the autofocus on. All right. Let me just give me a second here. All right, and then let me turn it off. Okay. Let's try that. How's that? Can y'all see that nice and clear? It's clear on mine, but I can't tell on yours. This right here is my absolute favorite, and this is where I sprayed. And you can kind of see this was the part that I was leaving it alone right here. I didn't want, I kind of liked what was going on. I can see it drying. You can see it drying from outward in. You can see this part is still really rather wet. Good. I'm glad that's better. So we'll just kind of leave that there and hope that that stays like that. And feel free to just let me know in the chat if you need me to refocus it, because I can still do that. So I can kind of see that a lot of this is drying. This is all dried right here. So if I were to introduce anything new to it, it's going to actually kind of pull the color away. So I'm not going to get that really cool play. And that's kind of part of the interesting part of doing this and talking live. This is where you can get some really cool brushwork going in here. So let's go ahead and add this, because this is still somewhat wet, but it's drying. And these will probably stay. Now you can also do lines if you want. I'm really kind of loving how this is looking. However, I'm not probably going to freak you guys out, because I'm probably going to put some ISO on it, and it's going to create a wash, because we're going to keep playing a little. I don't want to touch this because I like that. So in here, I feel like we need to get some stuff moving. And the only way to do that is to introduce new ISO, which is going to kind of activate a little bit. It's got a little bit of staining going on in here, and that's okay. And I don't mind that it's going to start to kind of move a couple things and create some hard lines, because that's kind of the beauty of it. It's finding the balance. That's one of the tricks here that I've learned, is just kind of finding what that balance is. So for me, and I'm really loving how that kind of just, it kind of took what was there and shifted it. And that can be very special. So let's see if I can't zoom in a little here so that you can see a little bit better. And let's focus this. See if we can't get it to focus. And then we turn that off. All right. Okay. So this has a lot of interesting stuff going on. Now I'm going to introduce more color, because we've got some nice little brightness going on. I want to kind of activate this area here too. And I'm actually going to activate this. Sorry. Yep. Going to have to do it. Now those two are going to collide. There's a little bit of dry in between, but look at what's going on there. How cool is that? I don't want this to kind of overtake this. So I'm going to actually try to control this here a little bit. Loving this edge. That's got some fun stuff going on. No, get away from my nice area. It's just how it is. But now look at this. This is just beautiful. Okay, so we need to add some more color. I have a little too much green in here, so let me add some blue to mix in with that, because the green and the yellow, the blue and the yellow is going to create some pretty green. I think I may want to add a little bit of purple in here. and just kind of play. All right. Love this kind of coral that's happened. We do not have that color on here at all. And we have a really hard line here. Let's, I like to use a palette knife to kind of get underneath here and help me kind of shift this around sometimes. Makes it a little, ooh, I'm liking that purple. Okay, I've got a little too much of a dry line here, so. Now that green has a lot of yellow in it, so I'm getting a little bit of brown, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm really, really loving what's happening over there. I'm gonna kind of leave this area alone, try to not mess with it too much, but I want to kind of see what's going on here. I love this purple. I want to create a little bit of a white spot, so the staining on the Yupo paper, I know Tiffany is here in the chat and she's going to disagree with me because she doesn't like using Yupo as much. But I have become totally infatuated with the staining on of the Yupo because it adds so much to the project. All right, so let's just keep playing in here. And I'm breaking up the hard line a little bit with my brush. I'm liking this dark green that has happened. Very pretty. And anything that feels like it's not organic to me, I'm just going to mess with until I like it. So here, I'm just going to actually use gravity. I'm just kind of getting a feel for the movement and what's going on here before adding a little bit more in here. So I'm curious what's going to happen with the, if I were to add a little tiny bit of eggplant up here. You know what? Let me add some to here. And let me pick it up with my brush and add it in that way. And let's just play a little bit like that. Don't be afraid to just experiment in ways that you wouldn't expect. So I'm going to add purple to yellow, which just feels wrong, but I'm curious what's going to happen here. So I need a little bit of ISO here because I don't have enough. So a little bit of ISO and purple together, and that should wick it away where I can drop that purple in between, which isn't something that you should be able to do, but that's the beauty of alcohol inks, right? You're right, Tiffany. Staining adds a ton of depth. Now I just scraped that with my palette knife, but that's okay. We'll work with it. And I've got some purple on here, so let's just keep playing. Something that doesn't feel very natural. And let's add some ISO and get this really kind of moving here. And then in that line, I'm going to actually add, a little bit of blue. Okay, so this has kind of created like a little, like almost pond like structure to me, which is kind of cool. I'm loving how these are kind of blending together. I want the green and the blue to kind of come together a little. So I'm breaking that up as it's starting to dry. I'm loving what's going on here. Not so much up here. So let's just kind of mess with this. And we have a wet area and a dry area. And the way these are drying right here are almost like in the I think of like Utah and some of the red rocks and how they kind of dry on different levels. You can think of like water as it's drying out from, hey, Taryn, nice to see you. And anybody else that's joined, sorry if I haven't had a chance to say hello. It's hard to do this, talk, and do all that at the same time. Oh my gosh, I'm loving what's going on. There's so much goodness here. And this feels like just a pool of water right here. So I want to break this up. But this kind of feels like how, like a salt flat, how the salt in the water just recedes and then starts to dry. Oops. You can see I just randomly threw down some ISO there, but it's going to create something cool because as this is drying, and I can kind of see it from the side, so I can kind of see where the areas are still wet. I'm just looking to break up some here. Just kind of get that feeling a little bit more organic. And I'm actually really liking how this is looking. There's just a couple little spots that I don't like, but they're a little on the edge, which can always be trimmed. This is a 5x7 piece. So ooh, this is kind of like where I'm liking that. Oh, that created something really cool. So let's break up this darkness up here. Actually, that's kind of framing it in. Sorry, I'm thinking and talking at the same time. It kind of looks like stone. Bye, Tiffany. Tell Abby happy birthday for me. Excited to see you in here. Wasn't expecting to see you today, my friend. All right. I think I want to add a little something here. So I'm going to grab some purple with a little bit of ISO. I'm going to add a little bit with my brush. And I think I'm going to try doing this with the dotting tool also. Let's see what we can grab. I'm not sure if I have anything that I can pick up from this. Perfect. That's what I wanted. Little teeny tiny dots. Something that feels, because these felt a little, I was a little too heavy-handed. So let's just, this is the beauty of alcohol ink. If you do something that you don't like, mess with it, play with it a little bit. And it's incredibly forgiving. I cannot stress that enough. Incredibly forgiving. And that looks better already. So I need to have a few more pieces that are a little more clearer. Isn't this great? Reuse all these things that, because I dirtied all my ISO and I want to make sure that it's nice and clean. And I may actually even, let's see, do I have a finer? No, I don't. I have several little brushes. So I'm actually holding my hand up to try to just be really light-handed because I am always a little heavy-handed. Tell me in the chat, are you heavy or light-handed? Yeah, just kind of wanting to break this up a little. I am loving what's happening over here. And that is a combination of purple mixed with actually some of the staining as well as some of the brown, which has a little bit of that mushroom and probably a little bit of the blue. But this is just gorgeous. It just feels like a pool of water nestled like down underneath like a ridge. This is kind of fun too now. I feel like I need a little more in this though, because it's just, let me grab some mushroom. And let's pour a little here. And I've got some ISO on here, which I'm going to need. So let's just grab that up. And let's just add a little bit, introduce something different. So it's got a lot of ISO on it. So it's going to do some movement. It just needed a little more. Anybody got some really fun plans if you're in the States? Today's a holiday here in the States. So it's my last day of vacation. I'm so sad. I actually was kind of just getting relaxed. Oh, I kind of like that. That's good. All right. Yep. Heavy-handed. Yep. Me too. Yep. I would agree. You are just like me, Karen. Definitely. Oh, I'm really loving how this happened. Now look, we've got orange in here. We did not use anything remotely orange. That is incredible. I love when colors kind of mix and blend together. And you can see here with some of the brushwork, and I didn't go too crazy with actual brush work, but you can kind of see by just adding and introducing some of these very little tiny drops as they dry and then coming back and adding a little bit more, then you can add some very interesting things. This right here was the only intentional brush swipe that I did, and then we just kind of expanded that and added even a little more color. Don't be afraid to add more color. And this, what's kind of cool about this is it's different from the rest. Here is where we did a little bit of spritzing. And if you ever have an area like maybe like in here that I'm going to spritz it right now just for the sake of being on the live and just educational purposes. I'm just going to spritz over here, and a little tiny bit is going to get in there. Not a whole lot. Just ever so little. And then you got to give it a second to just kind of like spritzing like you would perfume, kind of out of the way. And then let's see if any of that caught it. I don't think it did. Just because I'm trying not to overdo it. There we go. A little bit fell on there. I felt it. I can see a little bit. Not enough, apparently. And give that a chance to just kind of activate. Maybe. I also have a fan blowing, which is probably getting in the way as well. When I work with alcohol inks, I have a window open, I have a fan on, and I have my door open. So that way I'm creating like a cross breeze so that I don't get sucked into the fumes at all. So here also is kind of like a really cool little area, to this. So it kind of really looks like some stone, really, if you look at it. That right there looks like rock. It's so, so cool. So this is really kind of one of the things that I've been doing. I've just been able to sit down and play for like 20 or 30 minutes or even just 10. It doesn't take a whole lot to get going. And that's what I encourage you to do. You can create some really beautiful pieces. And don't be afraid, if you don't like what you have, to just throw isopropyl alcohol over the whole thing and start new. You're going to have staining on Yupo paper, which is just stunning. And you can create some new lighter parts because you don't want everything to be dark. You want to have a little bit of lightness in there for balance. And that's really kind of what I'm liking about this. I love how there's a line from the brushwork here because it feels like it's maybe intentional or not, kind of like a river cutting through nature. And then you can really do some really fun, I call this one bubbly. It reminds me of champagne. You can create some really, really cool things. To me, this is, I named this one Deep Pool, and I just kind of matted it and ready to go into a frame. You can create something really beautiful and gorgeous, and these make great giftables. So I encourage you to just keep experimenting, try new things. And this is one with 5 different browns. No blue, no green, 5 different browns. There's so many things that you can do. So I encourage you to get out your alcohol inks out of the drawer. I know all of you probably have them, and just experiment. This was really a lot of fun. I look forward to kind of seeing you all soon. Have a great day. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining me today.